Hello everyone, my name is Sarang, and in this video we'll learn about how to use the Power Tools for AWS Lambda. So it is a suite of utilities for AWS Lambda function that makes the tracing with AWS X-Ray. It helps in doing the structure logging and helps in creating the custom matrices asynchronously easier. So in this video we're going to look how you can use Power Tools for logging in your Lambda application, which is written in Java. The Power Tools is also available in different languages like Python, TypeScript, and .NET. So feel free to check that out. And this Power Tools is only available for the AWS Lambda service, and it eases the adoption of the best practices. So the main priority of the utilities which are provided by the Power Tools is to facilitate the best practices adoption, which are defined in the AWS well architected serverless lens, and the functionality is optional. So it helps you to keep it lean, and it is backward compatible. And the way to use the Power Tools is also you can create an application in SAM. So it has an option that you can include the Power Tools for AWS Lambda when you're creating the application using SAM init command. And you can also go through the manual installation, which is adding the dependencies in your pom.xml if you're using Maven. So we'll be doing the manual installation by adding these dependencies. So the Power Tools has the three utilities. So for each of the utilities, it has specific dependencies. For example, the tracing, logging, and the metrics. And we'll be only using the logging in this video, and we'll be creating future videos on the tracing and metrics as well. And along with that, it also requires you to add the plugin of aspect-j maven plugin. Okay. So and the reason is the Power Tools for AWS Lambda is using aspect-j internally to handle annotation, and for that reason we need this plugin in an application if you're using the Power Tools. And it also suggests to add the expert JRT that will be required by the expert J Maven plugin. So we'll be adding three things. One is this dependency, the Power Tools login. Second is the Aspert J Maven plugin, and the third one is the Aspert JRE. Okay, and these are the environment variable provided by the Power Tools that you can use as per your use case. And if you look at the utilities tab here in the logging, so it says that the logging provides as an opinionated loggers with output structure as JSON. So it eases us. So it gives an output structure as in JSON, right? So by default, the Lambda function outputs the logs in a text format, and you can switch it to the JSON by using the Power Tools. And it helps to capture the key fields from Lambda context, cold start, and structure login output as JSON. The logs are disabled by by default, and you can explicitly enable it via the annotation, and you can add your own additional keys into your logs at any point of time. And here it says that we need to add this particular dependencies if you wanted to do the logging using Power Tools. And the most important thing I want to show you is the standard structure keys over here. So whenever you write a log statement, it will be printed in a JSON structure, and that along with that log statement, it will have the timestamp, the level of logs, the cold start, whether the lambda is cold started. If it's, then it will give the value as true. It will give the service name, sampling rate, the message. So whenever you write a message, like when you do log.info and you put a message over there, so that log value will be given to this key called message, and it will also output the function name, version, memory size, and so on. So each log statement that you write in a Lambda function will have the log structure in a way that it will include all these keys, and it will have a value associated with that. So I'm going to quickly switch to the IntelliJ to walk you through like how to use the Power Tools, and I'll also show you the demo that will go into the AWS console and look into the logs as well. So I have this Java application created. It is a Maven based application, and in that I have two dependencies. One is the Power Tools login and the Aspert GRT, which is required by the Aspert Maven plugin. And this application is using the Java version 17. So along with this two dependency, I also have one plugin called Maven Shade plugin, which helps you to add all your dependencies into your jar and helps you to create a fat or uber jar, right? And I also have this transformer for the log4j because internally the Power Tools is using log4j. It's not using logback. So whenever you are using the log4j, and also if you're also using the maven state plugin, then we have to add this transformer for log4j and also this dependency. Okay, and as mentioned, I have also added the as_per_j maven plugin here. So if you look at the let's look at the dependencies first here. The detailed dependencies will be over here. You just have to click on this M. And if you look at this, the software Amazon Lambda Power Tools is internally has AWS Lambda Java core dependency already added, so I'm not adding it again. And it is all the dependency internally of Powertool has a log4j. It has a log4j core. It has a layout template. It has log4j slf4j2 and also the log4j APIs. Okay, so it internally uses the log4j. And now if I look at the handler here, I'll open the a class with the name called lambda power tool loggings. So it's implementing the request handler. So this is a typical way to write a lambda function in Java, right? And we have to kind of override this handle request method. So I'm expecting a string and also outputting the string back. And in order to enable the logging using the power tool, you have to add this annotation called @logging. So as you can see that it's coming from the power tools package, and also this logger is also coming from the log4j package. Okay, and here I have written one log statement log.info handling the request for it will output the name, and it will append the hello before the name, and it will return that back to the user. Okay, so this is the a very basic application in order to show you that how the power tool works. I'll also explain all the more features about the power tools, but before that I just wanted to uh, deploy this lambda function and show you like how the logs looks like in the CloudWatch logs. And also if you look at here in this annotation, I have added the log event as true. So what would happen is whenever you are sending a request, that will be first logged, and then it will log the other log statement that you have added in your lambda function. So your the event which you are sending to the lambda will be logged first if you're making the log event as true. So this annotation logging has four keys. So one of them we have used for log event, the sampling rate, correlation ID path, and the clear state. Okay, so we'll be looking at the clear stage and the log event in this video because we don't require the correlation path and the sampling rate. Not it's not going to be useful for this demo, but if you want I can also demo that in your in the future videos. Okay, so for deploying the lambda function, what I have done is I have created one a SAM template. Okay, which has a resources and output. So it has a standard configuration for the Java Lambda. It also had the code URA which is pointing to the jar, and I have added two environment variable, the log level and the power tool service name. So I will tell you why we need the log level over here. So in the resources folder, so whenever we are using a log4j, we need to have this log4j2.xml in the class path. So it kind of have the information of if it's it has a appended information, and also has a JSON template output. So since we're gonna output these logs in a JSON format, so we need to use this JSON template or layout tag, and we have to give the schema of the JSON format, right? Now this is pointing to the lambda JSON output dot JSON. Okay, so it is taking it from the class path. So there is no lambda JSON layout dot JSON here in the class path, but it says that it will take it from there. So we're gonna quickly go to the GitHub page of Power Tools. Here we have to go to the Power Tools logging, and if you look at the resources folder, there is a lambda JSON layout.json file over here, right? And we have already added the Power Tools logging in our application, so it will take that schema of a JSON from this particular file, lambda JSON output. So this is the schema of the log statement. So it will output the timestamp, instant, nano of seconds, thread, level, and so on. So we're gonna look that into the CloudWatch. So that file will be referenced from that dependency we have already added, right? So we already added the Power Tools here. So it will have that file and it will take it from there. And I have written that the logger were given the package name that whatever the log statement happens in this package should be at level info, and the other packages will also have a log level as an info, as I have mentioned the root over here. And I have given the reference to my appender, which is a JSON appender. Okay. Now, what I want to do over here is I want to kind of change the log level as per the environment variable. Okay, so I have a log level which is info now, and here I have also a hard coded as a info. So now by default it will kind of, whenever they start the application, it will have the log level as info, but we can also switch that if we change the environment variable. So that I will show you in just a few minutes, but this is the stamp template that I wanted to show you first. And the second thing is, now, in order to deploy the Lambda function using a SAM template, we have to run two commands. One is the package command, and second one is the deploy command, right? So what I've done is I have created deploy.sh file. So this is a shell script which will take the name of the bucket as an argument, and first it will build the package. I mean, it will build the jar, and it will run the SAM package command and put the bucket name that we have added as a part of the argument, and then it will kind of deploy that code into a bucket first. That's what the SAM package command does, and then it will deploy the Lambda stack into the cloud formation by using this SAM deploy command, and then it will delete one of the template output file which will be outputted as part of the SAM package command. So here is the template output file which will be of this name, template out.yaml. So after deploying, we don't need that file, so I'm deleting that after we have deployed the code. So I'm gonna execute the script, and here I'm gonna give the bucket name. I'm gonna give name as play artifact. I have this bucket already in my account, so I have given the name of that bucket as a play artifacts. And before we deploy this, I just wanted to show you that there are no Lambda function currently existing in my account. So as you can see over here, so we're gonna execute the command first. As you can see, it is building the jar. Yep, so the creation of jar is successful. Now it is uploading the code to the S3 bucket, and it has already done that. Now it is deploying the code and also create a stack. That cloud formation stack will have a resource called Lambda. So after completion of that command, you will see one Lambda appearing onto the console. So it will take it will take few minutes to deploy that. I think it's about to done. So while creation, it takes some time. So as you can see that the cloud formation stack has been deployed, and also the other command, that is deleting the template output, is also done. So if I come to the Lambda console, here you can see the Lambda has been created with this name. And I quickly wanted to go to the test and wanted to show you that how the logs appears when you're using the power tools. Okay, so I'm going to go to the CloudWatch here. As you would not be seeing, okay, there is one log statement, maybe I'll not need it, I will delete that immediately. Okay, now I will go to the test tab, and I will remove that JSON and gonna put only a string, because if you remember that in our Lambda function we are accepting a string, correct? So I've written that string, and I have saved this by giving the name here, and then I'm quickly click on the test. Okay, it has been succeeded. It has given me a response called hello Sarang. So there is a log statement, you can see it over here, but if you wanted to show it, like see it properly, we'll have to go to the CloudWatch. Okay, so here you can see over here is, this is the first log statement. Now the message is the log event that we have added, right? What is the message we have added to this Lambda? That is only Sarang. So it has written that particular input into this message key, and it also outputted the other information like the name of the function, the code, whether this Lambda was cold started or not. So if it is a cold start, it will give true, and also added the few other key value pairs over here. And this is as per this schema as I showed you earlier. So this schema is what this Lambda is following for the logging, right? So this was the first log statement. The second log statement, handling the request for Sarang. So this was the second one. If you remember, in our application, this was the one handling the request for Sarang. so has been outputted over here. Okay, so it also kind of added the other key values where, so this particular JSON, right, will have this same format for all the log statement that you write in your application. Okay, so now I quickly wanted to show you that how we can change the Lambda schema, right? So currently it is following this schema for the logging, right? Because if you look at the log4j.xml here, it is referring to the Lambda JSON layout, which it is taking it from the class path, and this is how it looks like. Now I wanted to copy this, and I will quickly give a name first, custom layout.json. I'm going to copy that entire schema. Okay, I'm going to remove all the key values which are not required. I don't want the instant as well. I don't want, maybe, uh, end of batch. I don't want to log that. I don't want to log the logger fully qualified name. I also don't want the thread ID and thread priorities. Maybe source is required, so I'm only gonna keep this particular key values. Whenever the logs are getting emitted, I only want this many key values to be appearing in the logs. So I have customized my schema, so now I want to reference that, so I'll write custom JSON layout. Okay, now again I'm going to deploy the stack. It will first build the jar as usual, and it will then push the code and then do the deployment. The second time it won't take so much of time because the function is already created. It just have to update now. So it has come to the deployment stage. Okay, so it has deployed and as well as deleted the output template file. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm again gonna invoke this lambda. Click on test. Okay, it has given me an output. Now if I go to the CloudWatch, there is a second log group created. Now if you look at this structure here, now it is a structure which is very, it is having only few key values here. Correct. So based on the schema, now my schema is custom JSON layout. So I have added this JSON layout in the log4j, and it has only the key values which I required, so it has followed the schema. So you can also do this. You can also reduce the number of key values that you wanted in your log statement by creating your own layout, correct, or schema. Now if you remember that there are thrown right now, why this is not appearing in the thrown? Because there are no errors right now in the application. If there are errors, then it will also have this thrown uh, you know key value appearing with the values. But here there are no errors, so this particular keys are not there. So based on based on the error, based on the the actions that happening in the lambda, it will take the key values from here. Okay, now there are no errors, so it will not throw anything or not provide anything about the thrown into the log statement. So keep that one thing in a mind. So as you can see over here, we have changed the schema of the JSON, which is following some some schema. So it has been it has been changed. So you can also add your own keys which are not present here. Like you wanted some more information in the logs. So what you can do is you can follow this particular website of log4j JSON template output. So it has so many resolvers, right? So the resolver is the one which kind of gives the value, or dynamically calculate the value, and kind of gives that value to the key. So it has a resolver of level which kind of gives the log level of an application to the key. It has a resolver with the name thread. It has a resolver with NDC, resolver with exception. So based on your requirement, you can refer to this website and just see what resolver you want it in your application, and you can use that. Okay, so now the third thing that I wanted to show here is that I wanted to dynamically change the log level. So sometimes I want an error, sometimes I want debug, sometimes I want log level as info. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one environment variable here with the name log level. Okay, I'm going to capitalize this log level, right? So if you remember in the template, I have already given the log level as info. So if I change the environment variable to, let's say, debug, then the application will change its log level based on that environment variable. Okay, and if I wanted to know what's the current log level of my application, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write log info, the current log level of lambda. Okay, so I'm write log dot get level. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to again deploy this lambda function. Okay, now you would see this, but this extra log statement will be inside the CloudWatch, which will tell us what is the log level of an lambda currently. Okay, and we'll also see by changing the log level, we'll also change it to the error, and this particular log level should give the error as a log level. Okay, so now it has been deployed. So the current log level, as we know, it's info. So we'll quickly go to the environment variable. Here is the info. So I just wanted to change this to, let's say, debug. Okay, now I am controlling the log level using the environment variables. So I'll quickly go to the test and I click on the test. Correct. So first it has the log statement of the log event, that is sarang. The second is the current log level of the lambda, and which is debug, and that is correct because we have changed that to debug, right? And the third is the handling the request for sarang. So it has also, outputted the log level based on the, and we are also changing the log level based on the environment variable. So I will change it to error. Okay, so now again test it. Since the error log level will not log the log level which are info and debug, so you would see that there are no logs or getting into this output. The reason is we only have log level of info in the application, and we are trying to expect the log of level error, and the error logs will only be available in the CloudWatch if you write it like error like this. Okay, and provide some value, and we don't have an error log basically in the application, so it will not log anything here. Correct. So you saw that there are no logs because we are only logging the info one. Okay, so now let's look at the another feature which Powertools gives us, that adding our own custom keys. So if you remember, we have edited this JSON layout and we have created our own. So we only kept the key values that we required in the logs. And if you wanted to add your own keys programmatically, then what you can do is you can use a logging utils class and append your own keys. Okay, so I just wanted to append a key call with the name called message id, and this is going to be a random uuid. Okay, so about this append keys, you can learn about this by looking at this appending additional keys under the logging. So it says that you can append your own keys to your existing log via append key function. Okay, so you can also add the map. If you have all the keys stored in the map, then you can use the append keys function in order to add that. And once you append that, you also need to remove the keys because the context is going to change. The lambda is going to reuse the container. So the lambda always runs in a container, right? And it stays awake for, let's say, the next 5 minutes, and if any calls comes, then it will reuse that container. And if that container is containing the old values, then it will not basically overwrite that, it will use the older values, and we want to refresh our own keys every time when the lambda gets finish its execution. and we wanted to always use the fresh keys. So we have to make sure that we remove the key, use the remove key in order to remove all your custom keys that we have added in the function. Okay, so I'm going to show you that without removing this how it's going to impact your logging. So but yeah, so this is about the append key. So I have added one R key called message ID, and also conditionally I want to add one more key. So if the name starts with S, then I want to add a key. So I'm going to use append key, and here I'm going to write name and name. Okay, so in addition to what I have written over here, okay, these are all the key values. The values will be, it will be, the values will be generated by this resolver. But if but the keys that we have added here programmatically, the values will be given by us here. So the message ID is the one which has the random UID, and the name key has a name, if the name start with S. Okay, but here we haven't added this information that I want to log message ID and the name, right? So in this JSON, we have to kind of add that additional keys with not with the same name, not with the name called message ID and the name, but we have to add one more resolver. So I would like to give the key name as context details, and I will use a resolver over here. The name of that resolver is MDC. Okay, so the MDC resolver adds our custom key that we have added as a part of, that we have added as a programmatically. Those keys will be, resolved by this resolver MDC, and will be added inside this context detail. Okay, so if we look at the current log keys here, it has only this many key values. Okay, because we have trimmed that JSON, we have created our own JSON. Now we wanted to also add our own keys, or you can say the business keys or custom keys. I wanted to add it in the log, so I would add everything inside this context detail, and the resolver MDC will kind of resolve all the keys that we have added as a part of the Lambda function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy this code. So as usual, I'll run the deploy.sh. It has pushed the code to S3. Now it's deploying. So currently I'm showing you without removing the keys. I'm just appending it. First we're going to see the impact, and then we're going to correct that. Okay. So let's wait it to get it deployed, and then I'm going to quickly show you that. Okay. It has been deployed. So now I'll click on test, and if you can look at the logs under the context detail, the first in the first log, which is just logging the incoming event, has no message ID and the name in the context detail. Okay, because that will start emitting in the second log. So if you look at the second log, it has our message ID and the name. As you can see here, the name is Sarang and the message ID, it has been added in the context detail. So the resolver MDC has also added few more key values. So what it does is it will kind of uh, write or emit all the custom keys or the values that we have written programmatically, but we haven't programmatically added any this information, right? So how come MDC is trying to give all this information in the logs in the context detail? It is because this is coming from the power tool. So the power tool also has its own dynamic keys in the code. So what it's doing is the resolver MDC takes all the keys and put it under the context detail. Okay, and these are the custom keys, and two of them are ours that we have added, the message ID and the name. So this has been added. Now we're going to see the impact that. So so before that, I just wanted to show you that this message ID and the names is also present in the third logs as well. Okay, and now I'm going to show you the impact by not removing the key. So I'm going to change the name as, it was Sarang. Now I'm going to change it to Kumar. Now we're going to click on test. Okay, still I can see the name as Sarang. Okay, because it has taken that value from the previous execution. We haven't removed that key name from after completion of that execution. So what it has done is it has reused that same key value. Now if you remember in the code, we have written the log saying that if the name only start with S, then only emit this particular key value in the logs. But I have added the request, I have added Kumar, but still it is giving the name and Saran because we haven't uh, haven't deleted or removed the keys from its previous execution. So in order to do that easily, what we're going to do is we're going to write one property here, clear state as true. Okay, as you know, this annotation gives you the four fields, so we're going to use this clear state, or you can also remove programmatically by doing this. So at the end of the execution you can write logging utils dot remove key, and you just have to give the name of the key. Okay, but the most easier way is to use this annotation and provide that particular property called clear state. It does the same thing. So I'm gonna again run the deploy.sh and deploy this new code to the Lambda. Okay, so it has been deployed. So I'm again gonna change the input as sarang and click on test. Okay, so now you would be expecting that the name is sarang. That is expected. Now I'm gonna change the name to Kumar. Okay, now the expectation is that the name sarang should not appear in the logs. It should be removed. Okay, as you can see, there is only message ID, and the name key value, the name with the name key and the value sarang has been removed because of this annotation or this property called clear state. So it has removed that all the uh, so this message id is not conditional, the name is only conditional, right? So it has removed, so it has overridden the value of message id, and it has removed the name because it is conditional, and it only comes when it starts with the, the name start with s. Okay, so I hope you understood about this append key. And now if you just look scroll down, you can also provide your own default object mapper in order to skip uh, you know the keys, and only the keys that you want it in the logs you can have it. So it says that you might want to supply custom object mapper in order to control how the serialization is worked. Okay, so they have given the sample application here. I think that's that much it. So I've covered all the major features of the Power Tool, which comes under logging. But if you remember, I've also added one environment variable here with the name called Power Tools service name, given a value to it, right? So if you look at the logs here, you would see a key with the names called service, and that value comes over here. So I just forgot to tell you about this, that what is the purpose of this key environment variable. And the purpose is it will just take the value of the service name that we have added and put it into the log. And you already know that why we have added this log level. So this Power Tools also has a environment variable with the name called Power Tools. I'm going to quickly show you that. So it's a Power Tools log level. So you can also set the logs uh, in your environment variable if you provide the key as Power Tools log level. So it will be changing based on what log level you set it to this particular environment variable. So you can also look at that. Okay, and also try out the other environment variables of logging. So I haven't showed you the sample rate, but if you wanted to see that, you can let me in the comment section. And Power Tools logger log event. So for that, we don't want this environment variable because we have already used this annotation with the name called log event. Correct. So it does both, does the same thing. So you can use either of that. So I think I'm done with this video. And if you like the video, please click the like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And see you in the next video. Thank you.